So, awards season has now pretty much come to a close.
Although not quite.
Although not quite. No, we've had the BAFTAs, we've had the Golden Globes, and of course, last weekend we had the Oscars. We are going to finish off awards season with probably the biggest, best, and most important awards of the entire year, which is the Stu Review Awards.
With
course.
mainly virtual awards, but one.
There is a genuine physical award for our final category, which we'll go into later. Yeah. So I'm joined here by Toby, as per usual.
Hello there, everybody. Good evening and good afternoon and good morning.
Good morning and hopefully not good night. So basically Toby has selected from a series of categories, probably better defined categories than the Oscars managed. A series of awards for the best things, people, performances, films, and so forth of the year. So basically, we're now going to just run through the Stu Review Awards. Should we call them 2015 or should we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we call them 2015? Okay, cool. So on that note, should we start off with our first award, the Stu Review Awards, which is the Performance Awards. So this is for a performance in a film over last year, and rather than going actor like everyone else does first, we'll go with actress. So Toby, who wins the Stu Review Performance Award 2015 Best Actress?
Reese Witherspoon in Wild. She goes on a big long trek, and it made me want to go for a walk. You know, it made me almost want to join her, although I don't think she was in a very sociable mood. But it was. I thought it was better than what won the Oscar and the BAFTA and stuff, but only just and
enough to take it. Was it Julianne Moore?
Yes, that's right. And it was a very nice.
A superior actor was it in a superior film?
As ever, the cliche is there are no winners. There are just good films and good actors and etc. But that was my preference over Julianne Moore.
Okay, so there we go. First winner of the day.
Yep.
Reese Witherspoon.
Yep.
So the performance awards for actor goes to.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna keep with the coup on this one.
There's no putting that man down.
In American Sniper, what I enjoyed most and got most from this character was the way it's nuanced my perception of that type of American. We're the best country in the world, and I've got a gun in my hands. But it nuanced it. I understand it a little more, and regardless of whether I agree or support the subject or Americanism, it doesn't matter. It gave a humanity to it, and it's a shame, I thought, in retrospect, that Spielberg didn't direct the film. He was previously lined up as director because he apparently wanted to take it on and use a similar amount of attention to the Syrian sniper who was Chris Kyle's, because this is basically a biopic of that character, that chap, in the film, and he passed it by, and Clint Eastwood took it on. I don't think it's as patriotic as some people say, but what I love about the film is that it got people talking, and a huge amount of people went to see it, and it got them discussing Americanism, and I think that's great. And you don't need to be a patriot, an American patriot. Obviously, I'm British, but to enjoy it. And I thought Bradley Cooper was excellent in it, and quite a revelation. Even though he has been nominated in the last 2 years, which I've sort of passed by. I've seen the films, but I didn't absolutely rate his previous performances. But I thought he was brilliant in American Sniper.
So is this, obviously we've had Eddie Redmayne winning, well, most of, if not all, the main Best Actor awards.
He got the full
gamut.
Yeah.
And obviously apparently Michael Keaton came quite close to winning the Oscar for Best Actor. So you've obviously overlooked both Redmayne and Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Was it the case of just the whole sort of disability thing doesn't do it for you the same way it does the other voters in the BAFTAs and the Oscars? or do you think that Cooper was just a much better performer?
Yes, it touched me. It re-educated me. Eddie Redmayne performance was absolutely terrific, of course. Keaton was also good, but it came out from the screen. The Bradley Cooper, I just thought, right, now I understand a little bit more about the American psyche, and that was very useful given the importance of the American culture in our world. So
cool. Okay, so first two awards down.
Regardless, by the way,
yep.
regardless that if it was absolutely truthful to the Chris Kyle story, which I don't believe it was, and actually I've heard. Yeah, I won't get into it.
But this is about the acting performance.
I'm talking about the film and the acting performance.
Okay, so third award goes for the director.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go for Paul King, director and writer, at least co-writer. I think he had a bit of help for Paddington.
Okay.
I think he gets a nod because this is a cinematic incarnation of a much-loved literary and, if you can remember it, TV children's story from back in the 70s that he frankly could have really cocked up, and he absolutely didn't. And the bits that I thought were a bit flawed and a bit naff, there was a couple of bits a bit naff. In the audience where I watched it in the cinema, those are the bits that the children were laughing at, as much as the bits that the adults were laughing at, which we will get onto as well, because I've got
indeed. So I mean, it's generally a common belief that the big awards always look over comedy as an art form. Obviously, things like director, actors, actress awards generally never go to people playing comic roles. So, do you feel you're kind of maybe slightly equalising the books here by actually giving a top award to someone who is actually not doing something serious, is actually just doing something fun, enjoyable,
and he did it jolly well. It's not. Well, I think it's done very well internationally, but it's not an international subject as far as the Oscars or the serious thing. So yes, I think your previous point is well made, and it doesn't need to be celebrated because it's done extremely well in the box office, and it will be loved for many years to come.
Indeed. Okay, so we're going to move on to our fourth award now, which is something which I don't think has appeared in any of the other award ceremonies, which looking at it is something which could be worth consideration for the other awards trying to catch up with our progressive thinking, which is the cast award. So shall I just go through quickly, roughly? I mean, what we're looking at here is basically the best
overall
quality cast in a film this year. Yeah. So on those grounds, Toby, who have you picked?
It's going to definitely be The Imitation Game. We've got. I'm not a Cumberbitch as they're called, but you've got Benedict Cumberbatch in there, very good quality. Keira Knightley, who's growing on me as the years go by. Matthew Good, who's a suave chap. Mark Strong, who's strong in the
strong
again
performance
in the award. Then we've got Charles Dance, who disappointingly doesn't dance, but in this particular role,
well regarded.
He's a very good sort of antagonist to the Alan Turing character. We've also got Rory Kinnear, this was quite interesting because when I didn't know of him actually, but when I saw his name, I thought and seeing his face, I thought he has to be the son of Roy Kinnear. Right. And indeed, having
done Googled a bit of research,
he is. Do you remember Roy Kinnear?
It's a bit before my time.
He probably is, young Stu. Yeah, he died very young actually, the day after falling off a horse in a Musketeer film in about 1988.
Oh, right.
And he was only about 54, and
I'd have been quite young at that point.
Yeah, but one can still look back on old films. But He was. Do you remember the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
As in the
He's
Mel
the father of Veruca Salt.
Oh, he's the father. Okay, in the sort of one with Gene
that-
Wilder. Gene Wilder putting in a stunning
Yeah.
performance as Willy
And
Wonka.
what a
I may add.
fantastic story. Roald Dahl, brilliant name, Veruca Salt. And also, there's another funny thing. In America, they don't call Verucas as we do.
Oh,
Verucas,
right, okay.
I think they call them
They're sort
warts
of
or
warts or
foot
bunions
warts
or
or
something like that,
something.
yeah.
So people following that film have actually called their children
Veruca.
Veruca.
Oh, so there's a word without meaning across the
brilliant
pond.
stroke from Roald Dahl. Brilliant.
Okay, so actually putting back round to the cast
I
before we
digress.
run a bit too
Yes,
much
sorry.
off kilter with
Oh,
Roald
yes,
Dahl. More? Okay.
Sorry, by the way, and also to the cast, Alex Lawther, who plays the young Alan Turing, is great, and we'll get on to him a little bit later as well.
Sure thing. So just as a kind of interesting award we've kind of created to a point, there is the question of saying, have you awarded the cast award specifically for the cast within the Imitation Game, or just the strength of the cast? You could put them in other films. They could, if that cast appeared in a different film throughout the year, it's the quality, the intrinsic quality of the cast as opposed to their cast within that particular film.
Yes, it's intrinsically good cast. It's a jolly, hearty, good film telling an important story. So that obviously influences my decision. But they're all actors that I would happily see in almost any film. So
Okay, and the way they interplay
that's
with
got
one
to be a
another
good
is
parameter to
indeed
for awarding the best.
sounds good. And talking of things sounding good, we'll move on to everyone likes a good guy.
Good guy. Yeah.
So we can call it the Good Guy Award, or maybe the Protagonist Award if you want. So who is the best protagonist, the best good guy that has been in a film this year?
Most recently, and slightly unusually because, in a sense it's animated character, the character of Baymax in the Big Hero 6
That's good.
Disney film.
Animated as
who
well.
was a personal health care robot. and it's very simply done, and it's very subtle. What I liked about this character, I've heard of other reviewers finding it, the whole film and generally his character so-called hilarious. I found it much more subtle than that. I just found it sweet. It made me smile. It didn't make me laugh out loud. Whether that means I don't know. But it's a relatively unsmaltzy Disney film.
So is this a more kind of subtle good guy, not the
Yeah,
man
absolutely.
battling evil against the odds kind of thing? It's just a generally nice.
It's very
character.
sweet, and he slowly becomes the star. He's not the shouty hero. No, not hero's not shouty, but
well, it's in kind of running around, blowing up bad guys, and
and he's pushed
everything.
into the role of being a hero.
Yeah.
He's pushed into armour and given a program to make him do karateing and stuff like that, and he doesn't really want to. He says, "How will this help me be a better healthcare robot?" and so he doesn't get in. It's very sweet, and there's this one really quite moving end where. And I don't want to spoil it, but so go and watch it.
Indeed,
It's it'll be on at Christmas.
I mean, that's a nice appearance for an animated film. So, I mean, we've consciously decided not to have, unlike the kind of Oscars and the BAFTAs, to not have a category specifically for animated film, because I think they have just as much right to win Best Actor, Best Actress awards, Best Director awards as anyone else, and you don't really need to compartmentalise them. And obviously, hopefully, it's shown here they've won one of our main awards without having to be categorised into a world of their own.
And I did the last compliment for that film is I did think that most people watching this film, whether they find it hilarious or not, will wish that they had a Baymax too.
And that's what gets it. So obviously on the opposite side of the good guys are the bad guys, the antagonists.
Yeah.
So who
I've got a good one here.
Who was antagonist of the year for
Absolutely, my favourite was the character Teddy in The Equalizer, played by Martin Sokas. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He's a New Zealand actor. He apparently was in a couple of the Lord of the Rings films, although
Yeah,
I
right.
don't
Is he
quite
playing a
remember. He was
relatively
probably
minor role?
probably he
Dressed as an orc?
could, yeah, possibly not an orc. I failed a little bit on my research on that one. I don't remember him from that, but he's fantastic playing a Russian sociopathic, brandy drinking hitman mobster that comes to try and quell the havoc being dealt out by Denzel Washington. And I really like this film. I think it was terribly underrated, actually.
So is this just like a straight up nasty piece of work, bad guy performance, or is it more subtle?
Oh, it is. He's sinisterly suave. He's a sort of brooding broiler. He's got this sort of wonderful fake smile that then turns into a scowl by the end. It's one of the best bad guys I can remember.
Wow, that's praise. That's praise. Well, okay, with that award handed out, next one I've got is the One-Liner of the Year award.
He's got a great. By the way,
we're back to
sorry. He has got a great accent. He doesn't do anything like a cliched Russian accent.
Okay.
He does a very subtle.
It's more believable and less stereotypical.
Absolutely, you don't quite know where he's come from, and he delivers it very sinisterly, and it's really good.
Well, good. So One-Liner of the Year, Toby. One-Liner of the Year.
Right. Okay. Well, going from bad guy, I'm going to veer away from the cliched bad guy one-liner. Although the character Teddy did have the odd good line, but I'm going to go for a comedy line, which I have mentioned before.
Yep.
For
viewers who have been obviously listening
niche.
to our entire catalogue of brilliant
niche.
broadcasts.
But I'm going to go for a line by Peter Capaldi playing Mr. Curry in Paddington.
So the second award of the ceremony for Paddington.
Yeah, exactly. And I went in view of this research for these. You asking me what awards we should give out this year. I went back to watch Paddington again, and again I was laughing like an idiot.
So actually, do you want to give the listeners
what
deliver it for us?
Yeah, I
in
know
your best Peter Capaldi.
I know it won't. I'd prefer if you heard it yourself, but I will repeat.
Just paraphrase the.
Yeah. Okay. So they're up to no good. Peter Capaldi and Nicole Kidman. He's a fairly pathetic character, desperately trying to get the attention of Nicole Kidman, who basically just wants to kill and stuff a bear, and we all know this as the audience, but he doesn't appear to. And after the next plan, he says, "I wonder if you'd like to dine with me after." She very sarcastically says, "That sounds glorious," and then he quickly adds, in a kind of desperate tone, "I have some meat paste sandwiches and some pickles. They went off on Tuesday, but they should be all right for a week." And I'm sorry about that. I was lost after that. I just couldn't.
Are you going to enlighten our listeners onto the role of pickles within a dining capacity?
Well, it's just because he sounded so sort of pathetic and desperate, and the idea that he had some pickles, that he knew where if there was an out of date on the jar, he'd read it, and if he believed it, and pickles don't go out of date. So there's the combination of that just completely tickled me. So nobody else will understand that, but I had a blast with that line. That's all I can say.
Cool. So next award on the list is again something which we've tried to create, which is a bit off the track from the standard awards ceremony style awards.
Yep.
Which I think we started off calling the Movement Award and decided that that's not really very descriptive. So we've called it the A to B Awards, and this is quite open-ended. It's literally whatever the best moment in film where someone moved from point A to point B in whatever manner possible, but whatever was the best one, Toby.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in how we did have a brief chat about the style of people's walks, which is interesting. It's quite a classic story about Sean Connery getting the role as James Bond, and they weren't quite sure, but then they looked out of the window as he was walking away from the interview, and they saw that he walked like a panther, and they sort of said, right, we're going to give him the job because he's got such a cool walk.
Walks like.
In modern day cinema, I would say.
Are we going for a walk still?
No, I'm backing up my final decision here.
Okay.
So I think in modern cinema, Colin Firth has a very cool walk. Well, obviously Reese Witherspoon is also very sweet and in a different way. There's something very different
about the way they walk.
A man walking and a woman walking. Very close second, I would say Denzel Washington going back
on a good strut.
Yeah, and that's a nice thing. But in terms of A to B movement this year, I would say the leap off the building that the Michael Keaton character takes. Obviously, it's a stunt man. I assume it's not CGI. I did try and look that up last night because it's a very theatrical dive that he makes. And
is this at the end of the film?
No, it's about 2/3 through, and then he ends up flying off down the street.
Yeah.
But it's a hell of a jump. I mean, it's a really theatrical. And I'm thinking, God, have they got boxes down there or how they're doing that? But it's a really good jump, and the stuntman who did that.
So we need to have a bit of a look on IMDb. Maybe we'll stick a note up somewhere, or maybe just
rectify.
Right.
We'll
find out if whoever his stuntman was, he gets the A2B Awards 2015.
Please do that,
because
it's a hell of a jump.
So that's to Michael Keaton's stuntman.
Yeah, a fearless jump. It's brilliant, really good.
Okay, we're going to go back to a fairly standard awards ceremony award now, which is the music award. We're not going to break it down into sound editing, mixing, music, original, anything like that. We'll just generally across the board, best music in film this year.
Right, well, I don't want to make it sound like I've only watched 3 films this year, but I'm going to have to go back to The Equalizer.
Okay.
That was the one film where the sound really impressed me, and the most interesting thing about it was going back for purposes of these awards.
Yeah.
To just listen to the sound, because you don't normally do that. You just enjoy the film, and good sound will come across, or bad sound will annoy you. So I went back, and it was really interesting. It's so the sound is by Harry Gregson Williams, and it's incredibly subtle, almost all the way through the film. It's delightfully quiet, which is a contrast to Interstellar, stuff like that, and it just starts to build up slightly as it gets a bit more dramatic, but then at the end it really starts pulsing and turns into a song even, which adds an extra dynamic to it. You have the extra lyricism to what's going on, and it's done in a perfectly good tone, and it really strides you on as Denzel Washington is striding to defeat his nemesis, Martin Sukas.
Cool. So
with a nail gun. Watch out, Martin. You're in trouble.
Indeed. So that's
great fun. It was really great stuff.
Okay, so we're going to go back after I think one of our own award creations, which we're calling the Future Award, which is where basically I'm going to ask Toby to basically give us a prediction, should we say, of sorts, about the the moment from this year in film, either the moment, the film, the performance, that was going to be remembered in 10, 20 years, 30 years' time as the sort of the best thing in film. Right.
Yes. Okay, yeah, I've got 2 answers for this one. I'm not sure which will lead out as the favourite in 10, 20, 30 years' time, but I would say the Michael Keaton underpants scene in Birdman.
Yep, as was checked on the Oscars as well, with the host doing a skit in his pants too.
What did you see? I thought
I saw a photo and it said guy who was in some American comedy. I can't remember his name.
I have no idea who he is, but I wasn't.
Does a Birdman thing and goes on stage in his pants. So think they were kind of going along those lines. That's a pretty iconic.
Yeah, and I've thought that since I saw it. It's a brilliant scene, and just in itself, just seeing somebody running around in his underpants is not the whole thing. it's where he starts that scene and where he ends up.
Yeah,
is as important as anything else.
Okay.
And secondly, the end sequence of Interstellar, with Matthew McConaughey, behind a bookshelf, which is extraordinary. It makes the whole, frankly, I found quite tedious first 2 hours, or partly some of it was good, but it absolutely made the film and was extraordinary. It was slightly mind bending, and I think that will be remembered a bit like a scene from 2001. Some classic scenes in that. And I think that will be remembered. Yeah.
Okay, so if you did have to pick one of those for your awards, I mean, Birdman's probably going to be shown on TV year in, year out in years to come. Interstellar might not be, perhaps.
In different ways. They're
if you're sat here in 2025 and you're looking back on that year of 2015, you're going to say pick the best thing in film.
Yeah, I think
is it going to be Keaton in his pants?
No, I think it's Interstellar in terms of the precept of the film. I think it's that final.
That scene is the strongest
behind the bookshelf.
Strongest moment from the year. Okay, so that's almost concluded our series of awards. So we're going to finish off on, for us, the big one.
Yeah,
which is the Brilliancy Award,
which we have.
We do have. This is on radio, but Toby's just produced a box, a green box.
Yeah.
Are we going to get the award out of the box?
Yeah, you have the honours, Stu. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to remove it from the box and describe to people what this delightful award is. It's wrapped as well. Let's just unwrap the. It's a cup. It has a handle. Could one drink?
Tankard.
It's a tankard. Would one ever choose to drink out of it, or was it more a piece for show, just to admire it? So it's now sat next to our microphone. It has Brilliancy inscribed on it as well.
I got this. I bought this just from a trophy shop that's about 50 yards away from me, actually. Indeed. For a chess club that I used to be in, and I never got round to sending it. So that is why we have it.
We have it,
and I wanted to send it to somebody.
We can find a new home,
and so I donated it via Stu Review Awards to the winner of this category,
the biggest, best, most important award of the day. So Toby, I might maybe try and edit in a drum roll or something. But
where is the drum roll?
I'll see if I can find one when I'm editing this later. So maybe with a drum roll, maybe not. We'll do the big announcement. So unfurling. So Toby, the winner of the Stu Review Awards Brilliancy Award 2015 goes to.
Here we go. Well, I wanted to keep it.
Come on, we need a name. And then go into the definition. Should we try again?
Okay.
And the Brilliancy Award, Stu Review's Brilliancy Award 2015 goes to
Tat Radcliffe.
Who's he?
Cinematographer for 71. But I would have to say it's Tat Radcliffe and his crew, because there is a main Steadicam operator. Who is perhaps as significant in that award, but care of Tat Radcliffe. So him, and he can.
So his brilliancy is it for his cinematography or for the Steadicam?
Well, for organising it, again, it's slightly varied because it's also to do with editing. The fact that the style of a lot of handheld style, which can at worst be very irritating, nauseating and unwatchable, and they did it in a very well-mannered way, and not overly. And also there is a fantastic glass shot, which is not a handheld shot, not a Steadicam shot at the end, and I love a last end shot, and so that came into the equation of that. So given that he is the official cinematographer, I'd have to say, yeah,
he picks up the award. Okay, so what we'll probably try and do, if we can find him, or maybe his agent or something, we will try and...
Yeah, I've got an address for him.
You've got an address?
Something like Lexington Street, London. So yeah, we have a.
We're going to try and post him the award. Fortunately, it's in London as well.
And so, the main, by the way, just as a little extra reference, the main 8cam and Steadicam operator was a chap called Matt Fisher.
Okay. So
and like I said, he did it very well, and it can be really annoying if it's not done well. So.
And we only have one award. If Tat thinks he doesn't deserve it, he can pass it on to his Steadicam operator if he wants to.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll send it off with a nice little cover letter, and if we do receive anything back, we will make mention. If we get a letter, which please send us one, we'll read, or at least surmise. I'm sure it won't be very long. Out to in a future broadcast. So with that, does that conclude our awards? Would you say, Toby? There's nothing we've missed. Would you say is Paddington the big winner of 2015 for us, or Birdman?
In the warm hearts of everybody, Paddington will always be the winner.
So should we leave on that lovely, pleasant, delightful note?
For many Christmases.
The Stu Review takes Paddington as the top winner of the awards this year.
Oh yeah, overall, yeah, and a mention to the Equalizer actually, because I think that's a lot better
more than you.
For me, that was a lot better than certain other reviewers thought. I thought it was excellent. I watched it again yesterday.
Okay, cool. So we'll probably be back at some point in a week or so.
Good.
Hopefully with some new material, because we're out of things on award season now. So I think we've got a few ideas in the bag. So we'll see what comes out next time.
Very good.
So yeah, like, subscribe, do whatever you want. If you've made it to the end, it would be good to get more than. Actually, should probably say hi just to Caitlin now, our one subscriber.
Yeah.
So hi
Caitlin.
Hi Caitlin. Yeah, if you've made it to the end, hello. And anyone else that cares to subscribe, we'll try and say hello to you too. So yeah, goodbye everyone.
Good morrow, listeners. Yeah.